And I think, yep, I think that's audio. All right, so let's get back in here. Hey man, who just popped in? I don't even know if this is working. I haven't done this in so long. Forgot how to use OBS. All right. You know, I've waited a long time for this. I didn't realize how long I had waited for this sim, but I guess I don't know, maybe forgot about it, right? Like I forgot that there was going to be a flight sim again. I know there's X-Plane, but I don't know. So the cool thing about this, I went to SimBrief. SimBrief is a website where you can generate flight plans for flight sims. But when you go into this sim now, you don't need that. You can set it up. We're going to fly from Santa Barbara to LAX. And you can set it up when you choose instrument flight rules. It generates all the waypoints for you and takes it all the way down and around. So I'm going to back this up to about 6 a.m. because the game looks really, really good at night. And go back here. And let's do a preset of scattered clouds. Yep, we got all that. A little bit before 6 a.m. We got that. All right. This game has crashed on me several times. So let's hope everything holds together. All right. Good there, good there, good there. Got the DA62. All right. Let's risk it. I'm really impressed with the game so far. I'm going to wait until we get up in the air because we'll have, probably 30 minutes between Santa Barbara and Los Angeles. We'll have about 30 minutes to talk about the game and how it came in last night and everything. And I'm impressed. I mean, the bottom line is I'm impressed. It's very, very cool. But there's some things that could use a little polish, you know, but that's true of almost anything. All right. And we are loading. Yeah, there's a lot to go over, and I don't want to waste it all while we're on the ground because then when we're in the air, we'll have nothing to talk about. All right, we got it all. All right, a little bit more, a little bit. There we go. Beautiful. 72 miles of visibility. That is some clear skies. All right. So we will hop in this thing. Flashlight. And this is the whip. I've noticed that no matter how many times you play the game, no matter how many times you load an airport, it does take a minute to load everything up. So the frame rate's going to drop from 50 or 60 down to like 0 when it's loading scenery. So yeah, this is what it looks like outside. I mean, I'm on by no means a weapon of a system, but when I loaded everything up, it recommended high-end settings, and everything seems to hold together pretty well. At this airport it does. This is not LAX. It'll drop a bit when we get to LAX. So we hop back inside. We got our flashlight here, and what's the easiest way to do this? We've got somewhere up in here. Yeah, we've got, there they are. We've got these. Let's turn these on. They won't come on right now because the batteries aren't on, but then when we do turn on the batteries down here, right like so, we'll have those overhead lights on. It does, but it doesn't, Fred. It doesn't do it the way that we were told that it does, but it does do some cool stuff. Let's get our clearance going first. And this is bugged out as well. Yeah, we're just getting the closed mic sound, and it should be reading all this. Okay, so we're going to take off runway 25, climb and maintain 7,000, squawk 2464. So when we acknowledge this, it hopefully, yep. All right, so it puts 2464 in our transponder, so that's done. We can turn this off for a minute right now and get everything fired up. And it said, I forgot already, 7,000 feet for the climb out? 7,000 feet. Okay, so we'll set 7,000 feet in the autopilot, but it's been acting up. I saw in the notes that the autopilot has been doing some funny things. So let's get this going. Parking brake is set. We will turn fuel on. And I'm flying this aircraft. My previous favorite aircraft was the Beech Baron, which is not in the basic edition that I got. But I found this little twin engine weapon, and when the sun comes up and we can see it a little bit better, it's a lot cooler, I have to say, than the Beech Baron. All right, so we'll get our glow plugs going on the left side. That's ready. Fuel pump is on. There we go. And same thing for the right side. I'm a hack pilot, by the way. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm able to cob my way through sims pretty well. But compared to a real pilot, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. All right. Avionics on. They want pitot heat on. It's August in California. I don't think we really need it, but they want it on. So we'll do that. We will crank those up. Not quite that far. There we go. And we want strobe lights, position lights, taxi lights, and landing lights. All right, takeoff flaps. All right, so this is all set. This is all set. We can turn these off now. All right. And I think, yep, I think we're ready for pushback. So brakes off. I'm going to try not to forget anything. And we're doing this without a checklist. I'm going to try not to forget anything, but it's entirely possible. I will forget a lot of things. All right, let's turn that down just a little bit. All right, so now we'll go back here, and we're going to request our taxi. All right. It's supposed to read those every time, but sometimes it just gives the click from closing the mic. And when I'm flying and it doesn't like speak out loud to me, I miss it sometimes, and then it'll cancel my IFR and everything just goes to pieces. All right, so we're going to hop back outside and request pushback, right, like so. And I think we can just go straight. I think we can just go straight back, because if you look, 25 is over here. We're going to taxi down here, then up and over. So if they push us straight back, and then we just pull forward to the left, and then right, and then left, I think that'll be okay. All right. Like I said, I know about a third of what I'm doing, maybe less than that, maybe a quarter of what I'm doing, but I do love flight sims. Now, when we're outside, we can see a co-pilot, but when we're inside, we cannot. All right. And I've got on the settings, like I said, when I fired the game up, it told me based on my system, it was recommending high-end settings. And it's got things like airport vehicles and aircraft density and all that other stuff. It's got everything right at 50%. So I just left it there, and we do okay on frame rate. It's not great, but we do okay. And I'm going to have to see what can be done about that. I did bump it down to medium, and the game looked really, really terrible. So I think we'll need to find a sweet spot there. Stop right there. All right, and there goes our cart. So if we hop back in here now, all right, there we go. And apparently collision is turned off for ground vehicles, and I think even aircraft as well, because I haven't hit anything yet, and I know I've come so close to things that in reality, I would have hit them. But in the game, it seems like collision is turned off, at least maybe at the airports. I don't know. I have ground collisions turned on, and the AI does not seem like that truck pulling out in front of us would not happen in real life. I feel like there's still some optimizing to do, definitely. And you know, it's weird because when you think Microsoft, right, it's like this billion-dollar corporation, and this is Microsoft Flight Simulator. But all they did was finance it. All they did was finance it and then publish it. But the game was built by Asobo in France. So it's not, I don't know, I guess I was just expecting it to be like a Microsoft product, but Microsoft doesn't really make games anymore. So it's just a video game, you know, and it's got its flaws, it's got some bugs, there's some things that can be optimized. I don't know how long we're going to wait for this truck to move before we kind of scoot around it. Because I think, can we? Yeah, we can probably get by there. But even if we do clip it, with the collisions being turned off, we won't like rip the wing off or anything. Yeah, I don't know how long that fuel truck's going to sit there. Carefully. You know what this is like. All this is truck sim. That's all it is. It's exactly the same idea. Just going from one place to another for no reason. Oh, now he goes. Oh, sir. Is he messing with me? Sir? All right. Just want to go through them. Let's just go through them. Yep. Yeah, some little details like that. Still some things that need working on. But yeah, we can just zip right through there. All right. Back inside. So yeah, I was a big fan of I still am a big fan of the Beech Baron. It's just, it feels like, for me, the perfect plane. The King Air is too big and too fast and too expensive. I would never own one or fly one in real life. I mean, obviously I wouldn't own or fly a plane in real life at all, but even if I did want to get a private pilot's license, I wouldn't be in a King Air. So the Beech Baron was always what I went with. And this thing, when you can see it in the daylight, Beech Baron is what? That design's got to be 30 years old now, 40 years old. And this looks like it's something from the past 5 or 10 years. Very sleek, very aerodynamic, obviously designed by a computer. And it just looks like a sports car. We'll go back outside, zoom in on it a little bit. Look at that thing, man. Looks like a little hot rod. So I think this is going to be my new go-to aircraft. All right. We'll get up here to runway 25. I've had a few kind of incidents with the Autopilot, and I did go back to the threads on the Steam store, and people said, yeah, it's not, at the moment, it's not quite working right for altitude and speed. So we may need to fly this manually. It's not very far. It's about 100 miles. And we'll be traveling about 150 knots, so we should get there, oh, maybe 45 minutes. All right, so we're going to hold short here and get back on the radio. All right. Clear for takeoff, runway 25. Traffic is generic on final. So we'll acknowledge, and then let's go back outside and see if we can see where this traffic is. So they're on final. Is that them right there? Nope, not there. Right there. I don't know. All right, it says somebody's on final, but I don't see him, so we're just going to go. So landing lights off, taxi lights off. Going to dim these a little bit. Here we go. I'll leave that ATC window open, since at the moment it seems to be, it's not completely bugged out, but it's acting up a little bit. I'm just going to leave it open. All right. Gears up and locked. All right, so let's get turned around here and get up to altitude and be on our way to LAX. So yeah, one of the things that we had all heard was the game would stream everything, as far as scenery, would stream everything in real time, and you would have to be online. I mean, it's good marketing, and it's not, I wouldn't say untrue. Stand by, let me do that. There we go. All right. So I wouldn't say that that is not correct. There is a ton of scenery, and it is, I mean, the entire world is available for scenery, but you can set a cache, and if you have a lot of areas that you fly in, it's going to keep the scenery from those areas loaded. If you're not online at all, well, you need to have some internet for the game to validate, but if you don't have any signal, if you don't have enough bandwidth, if you don't have speed, you can turn down the internet speed requirement and just play with low poly, low res textures, and the game will play just fine. It still needs to be online to like activate, to work, but you can play it without scenery, basically. So that was a good bit of marketing from them, and I've seen some YouTubers and some streamers set it up anywhere from like 25 gig to a terabyte. But I spend most of my time flying Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, and California. So I've got 50 gig reserved right now. And what it'll do is it'll roll that cache. So if you exceed 50 gig, it will just clear out the stuff that was used the least often and put in the new stuff that you need. But it does, I think it's when it's moving it from your hard drive to RAM, it does really slow down when it's loading scenery. Even if it's loading it from a local, it really slows down. Like it'll slow down from 40 or 50 FPS down to like 15 or 20. So the game, there's still some things that need worked on. It's got a couple of bugs, and I think it could be optimized a little better. And I turned the settings down, and it seemed like there was, like, I don't want to say no middle ground, but it seemed like there was really a jump from the settings that it put me on with just the basic high-end, what they call the high-end setting. From there down to medium, it really dropped off. So I'll go in and see if I can slide some of those things manually and find a nice sweet spot. But I think the game looks great. I have no complaints about, oh, there's that FPS drop. Oh, God. 10 FPS. 8, 12, come on back. Oh, there it is. I have no real complaints about the game. Anything more than I would have about any other game. And I think because we sort of waited for this for so long, even though we didn't know we were waiting for it, it's been a long time. So I think it would be easy to go wrong in either direction, to either say you know, it's so amazing that we have it, it's perfect, or to go the other way and say, you know, it's nothing but a mess. I can't believe we waited this long for it. I saw on one of the Steam threads, I saw somebody say, you know, they've been working on this game for 16 years. They have not been working on this game for 16 years. I'd say maybe 18 months, maybe 24 months, but they have not been working on this game since the last flight sim. A few years ago, somebody said, "Hey, why don't we get flight sim going again?" And then they did. But the idea that what we're looking at right now is 16 years of work is just ridiculous. It's not. It's just a video game. You know, the models of the planes are, I wouldn't say they're generic, but plenty of other video games have those. Things like the weather and sound and all that stuff. I mean, some of that stuff you can license companies to do it for you. You don't even have to do it yourself. You can just license somebody who already does it. So it's not. It is an achievement for sure. It's a good looking game, but it's not. There's nothing groundbreaking about it that I'm seeing, other than loading the terrain from Azure and Bing. You say Azure, you say Azure, but loading it, they hyped it. It's not quite the way they described it, you know, or at least what I'm seeing it actually do is not. It's not what I thought it would be. So good on them for marketing, but yeah. And what else? Yeah, a couple little bugs, and it did. Of course, in the Steam forums, I saw some people yesterday. Within the game went live for me at midnight, but it's 100 gig of download, and the servers were really bottlenecked. So I just went to sleep, and when I woke up at 8 o'clock this morning, it was fully downloaded, and it said that it had taken about 7 hours, that's pretty long for 100 gig. Normally that would be 2 or 3 hours on my connection. So I think the servers were a little bit slow because so many people were downloading it. But to see people, you know, immediately complaining, oh, you know, Steam screwed up, and just, I don't know, gamers being gamers. But I have no complaints about anything so far, and I guess, like I was saying earlier, to look at it as, you know, something that's been in development for so long that, oh, I just realized my stream stopped. Hang on, is this? Okay, we're still going. All right, thought my stream had stopped. I'm watching it in another window. Yeah, to go too far one way or too far the other way, and either expect the game to be perfect or just tear it to pieces for being anything less than perfect. I think it's, you know, let's find a middle ground. It's a good looking game. It really, really is. And if it was coming out of the blue with no hype, like if somebody sent me a link and said, hey man, you know, there's a truck sim, there's a train sim. Well, now there's a flight sim. You should check it out, bro. And this is what I saw, I would be absolutely blown away. But there are some expectations. And again, because it's Microsoft, you know, because it's a multi-billion-dollar company with its name on there, I guess some of us on a subconscious level, we're all thinking like it's going to be the product that you would get if it was developed by a billion-dollar company. And in reality, it was developed by a game studio in France that Microsoft hired. So yeah, no complaints, but it is not. It's going to need a couple updates. It's going to need a little bit of polish until it's really, really good. What I'm curious about the most is whether or not I'll be able to find one frame rate for, I don't want to say every area, but one frame rate that is kind of good for everything, or one graphic setting that is good for everything. You'll see when we get to LAX, we're really going to drop off quite a bit. In fact, we're dropping off right now, so I guess we're loading a tile. Now we just went from like 50 FPS down to about 10. I'm okay with that, but you know, that's a kind of that's an ETS thing, right? That you've got this great frame rate when you're out on the highway, and then you get to a city and everything just goes to pieces. So let's do a couple things here. So we'll get the autopilot on, and then we're going to very carefully, we're heading right there, and we're going to set the altitude right there. Okay. So now, we got our heading locked in, got our altitude locked in. We can go outside and take a look around. So yeah, this is on, my system is, it's an i7 9700K with a 1660 Ti. I've got 16 gig of fast RAM, and my OS, my C drive is a Samsung M2 SSD, and my other two hard drives are Samsung Evos at 1 terabyte apiece. So everything is loading off of SSD, and my system is, it's good, not great. And I'm really impressed with what I'm looking at so far. And the terrain is amazing. Yeah, I think they've done a really, really good job with that as far as the realism of it, and that this is all 3D. And I don't know exactly how they've done it. I think they've got some type of image file laid over some type of terrain mesh, but this is all 3D. If we wanted to get into an acrobatic plane, we could fly down along the coast and fly up these canyons and you know, fly around this lake. It is all 3D. So that's very cool. That's very impressive. And you know, the lighting, the occlusion, shadows, everything, not on ultra settings, I think looks fantastic. So no complaints there. And the physics, I didn't know this, but I guess original flight sim, there was like one point on the plane. Is that right? Is that even a thing? There was 1 point. And now in this sim, there are 1,000 points. I don't know what a point is, like when it comes to the aircraft, but it's supposed to be a much, much more sophisticated aerodynamic and physics model. So, all right, I'll take it. And I saw some people kind of fired up about that as well. They said things like there's no head shake or head bounce on takeoff roll. And I'm okay with that. I don't know if that's something they want to add later, you know. And again, when you think of Microsoft with hundreds of thousands of employees around the world, and then you think of a small game studio in France, there are plenty of things on their bug list that got triaged, and they didn't get to them in time. I'm sure there were hundreds or thousands of things that they knew needed to be done on the game before it was ready to be released, and they just ran out of time. So they addressed the things that are in that middle category. There's some things that are so small, they're not worth fixing, and there are other things so big that they're not going to be fixed anyway, and you just have to let them go. So you triage and you focus on the group in the middle, the things that are big enough that people are going to care about them, but manageable enough that you can get them fixed. And everything that doesn't fall into that middle bucket doesn't get fixed before the game is released. So there'll be some things addressed in patches and, you know, just stuff, all the stuff that goes into a video game. So we've got 20 miles to go to our next waypoint. And ideally, what we'll be able to do at some point, and I need to get all this avionics figured out, but what we'll be able to do at some point is slave the aircraft to this course. And if we go, let me very carefully swap seats here. If we go here, and is it, there we go. No, the other way. If we go this way, what we'd be able to do is slave the aircraft to this course, and then it would essentially fly us all the way around to the ILS beacon, and then we would capture that with our software, right? We would get on the localizer. Hey, Owen, what's up, brother? We would capture that with our localizer, and it would fly us all the way down to the runway. But I need to figure all that out. Like I said, I've had some incidents with the Autopilot so far. It is not super, it's either broken or I'm using it wrong, or some combination of the two. Anything is possible. So X-Ray Gulf Sierra, that's us. So we're going to acknowledge the handoff. We're going to change frequencies to LA Center and let them know we are on our way. you got it. So we'll hop back inside, reset the altimeter. And we're a little bit over on altitude, but I'm just going to leave it for now. We're only over by 100 feet. ATC generally doesn't get too upset about that till you're more than about 300 feet, plus or minus. So we'll just leave that for now. And then we need to go back in here. And then we'll need to figure out when we get there how to completely come off of autopilot. Because a couple of times it's really started to like fight with me. And it's only given me back control of like some parts of the aircraft, and I haven't been able to control anything else. Oh, and this was $60 US, which I think is 80 euro, or maybe reverse that. I don't know. But it was $60. I got the basic one. The only thing that's in the upgrade would have been that Beech Baron 5.8. But when I saw this plane that we're in right now, I figured I don't know that that's worth $30. And what I can show you is, in fact, we'll pause this. If we go to, now it's not going to let me do it, but we'll do it on the way out. But there's already a store, and it's not even microtransactions. It is macro transactions. It's like $20 and $30 aircraft in airports. So I think they're planning to make some money with this. And also the fact that it incorporates Bing and Azure the way it does, I feel like this is a push to get some more play for Bing, which everybody hates and nobody uses. But in the same way that they force you to have Microsoft Edge on a PC, because that's what runs Windows Explorer now. Like you can't use file folders on your operating system without having Microsoft Edge running. I think they're trying to push Bing out in various products to get people using it. Although I don't know why they would try to do that. It's a good looking game. I'm not complaining about that. And let's see if we can get some reflections here on the aircraft. Yeah, no complaints about the look of the game, particularly on my system. And I think we picked exactly the right time to fly down here. Yeah. And this is not ultra settings. And we're at, I don't know if you can see it up in the corner, but we're at 45 FPS. And hopefully we can, I'm trying to get this just right so we can see some reflections off it. Yeah. Look at this plane, man. This definitely looks state-of-the-art compared to the Beech Baron. I mean, it's the same plane. It's a 4-seat. Well, the Baron is 6-seat, but it's a 4-seat sort of high-performance. You know, a doctor or a dentist or somebody would own a plane like this. But it's so much more aerodynamic and contemporary looking. I love it. It's got the little winglets on it and the inverted winglets on the tail. Very cool. All right, I'm going to hop back in here. And our next waypoint is just over 4 miles on the 110, so we're good there. And then we are going to need to start looping around at some point. Yeah, exactly. It looks like a Honda Civic, but the CRX. It's got exactly that feeling to it. But, I mean, the lines of it, this was obviously designed by a computer. It's just so slippery and aerodynamic. Oh, no doubt. When we're done, there are two, it's the old Piper Cub from the 1950s. I guess there's a company that licensed it and is making that plane again, but they're making it in carbon fiber, and they make a version with great big Tundra tires on it for grass runways. So it's definitely, there's a lot of variety in the aircraft that they included in the game. And something like that, like taking off from a grass strip, they've got an aircraft in the game that can do that. Looking forward to playing with it. So there's another game that is, oh, let's take a look. Yeah, I see what you're saying. They could have made this a little bit smoother. But then you would have glare issues. And I don't know if this has any kind of anti-reflective coating on it. Let me take 5,000. I'll go back in here. All right, so we got to turn just a little bit to 9.4. There we go. Yeah, that's about right. Planes are like cars. I think they pass a maximum depreciation at a certain point, and they don't go down any below that, but they're so low already that it's, you know. But yeah, that's and now there's another sim that was supposed to be done this summer called Dead Stick, but the devs have sort of gone dark, and it's, I don't know, it's a bit of a disaster. But that was an Alaskan bush pilot simulation game, and I think part of the reason they may have sort of backed off that, yeah, exactly. Once they bottom out, there's no place for it to go, and it can sit there for years and just stay at the same price. I'm curious if the developers of Dead Stick did not lose interest in that project when they found out that there were going to be two sort of bush pilot planes included in this sim, and because it has the whole world, you can fly in Alaska, and you can fly into those places in Alaska. So essentially, this sim is going to be a better bush pilot simulation than Dead Stick. So I'm not sure if that was, I mean, they could have just lost interest or run out of money or who knows what, but I was really looking forward to Dead Stick, and now it's like there's almost no reason for it because we have this and we do have those aircraft. And it looks like we will have aftermarket aircraft from both Microsoft and from third-party developers, and possibly from modders. I don't know if there will be mods, but there will definitely be purchasable aircraft by Microsoft and others. And I have to remember to go to that menu when we're done. All right, this is us. So we are now going to LA Center. All right, 125.8. All right, and we are, looking at the map, we are just about to go over, whoops, wrong button, just about to go over. So this is the LA, I don't know, the bay, the harbor. This is the Palos Verdes Peninsula. This is actually where I used to live. And we're going to go right down, over, and around the peninsula, and then get into the pattern. Zoom back out here. Yeah, to have this amount of generated clouds and still be in the mid 40s, I can't complain about the way they've optimized the game so far. And I'm looking forward to them optimizing it even further. All right, this is where it gets interesting. Descend and maintain 5,000. All right, so we are going to, we're going to turn our altitude hold off. Vertical speed mode on. And let's see if we can get down to 5,000. All right. Okay, so we're good there, and we want this down. All right. There we go. All right, let's hope this works. What's been happening is I'll get down to my descent altitude, down to my new assigned altitude, and then the plane will not want to level out, and everything will just go crazy. Expedite my descent to 5,000 feet. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And we're going to turn now to 107. All right, that's us. So we're going to go down across the bay now, make that turn over the peninsula, and then loop around for final. All right. Now, the last time I tried this, I did not get the ILS signal. And as much as I looked for it, I was not able to find what the current frequencies are for 25L. Essentially, at the end of the runway, there's a transmitter that, it's a lot of ATC. There's a transmitter that broadcasts kind of a cone, and once you fly the aircraft into that cone of radio frequency, your autopilot is able to use it to correct left, right, up, down, and fly you right down to the piano keys on the end of the runway. But you have to know what the frequency is because they're different for every runway, and I was not able to lock down the one that I needed. Okay, so we're coming down to 5,000 feet now, and we may level out, or I may have to do it manually. Yeah, see, it's leveling out, and now it locked in the altitude at 5,000 feet. So that did exactly what it was supposed to, but previously it has not. I've been kind of fighting with it. So we'll just keep hoping for the best here. All right, what do things look like outside? Beautiful. We got really, really lucky. I picked, I think, the best possible time that we could have taken off because we took off in darkness and we're going to fly during the sunrise and we'll land in daylight. So it all worked out. Let me see. Back in here. Yep, I'm trying to think of anything else relevant to the game. I got NVIDIA downloaded drivers yesterday afternoon that had a huge Microsoft Flight Sim ad on them and said they were drivers specifically for Flight Sim and several other games as well. But I think they pushed out an update, a driver update, knowing that the game was going to drop, getting everybody ready for it. And I guess when you're a big enough company, and it's not just Microsoft that could do it, I'm sure Rockstar could do the same thing, Ubisoft, Bethesda, any big developer or publisher is going to work in with NVIDIA and AMD and make sure that anything unique or difficult or whatever about the game has accommodation in the driver update. So that came in, and I think that's it. Yep. I bought this on the Microsoft Store. I thought I had to. I didn't know it was going to be on Steam, so I bought it on the Microsoft Store, and then I saw that it was available on Steam. So I was able to get a refund. It processed it instantly. I think because it was a pre-order and the game hadn't even been delivered yet, I just went to my Microsoft account and said cancel because the game, it didn't exist yet, I guess. It hadn't been released yet. So I just hit cancel. It instantly credited my debit card, and then I went to Steam and got it there. I would prefer to do it on Steam rather than having the Microsoft Store up and running. I've got it disabled on my PC, and I would like to keep it that way. It's another one of those technologies that it's so intertwined with Windows that it's like you have to have it running, but I try to keep it turned off, keep it, I don't know, deactivated, keep it to a minimum. So right here at our 10 o'clock, this is LAX, but we're going to loop around and come into it the other way. All flights take off over the ocean, both for the wind and also because if you have a problem, then you're going to crash in the ocean instead of crashing in like Carson or someplace. So virtually all traffic at LAX flies from east to west, whether they're taking off or landing. All right, this is us again. All right, continue to turn though. And I do have, for realism settings, I do have altimeter creep and gyro drift. I have those both activated, so periodically I have to refresh the gyro lock and the barometer. You can set it up so it's automatic or so it never changes, but I've got it set up so you have to kind of keep an eye on that. And you can also, this is all real weather. This is what the weather is right now in this part of the world. And you can also set it up so that all the traffic that you see, like all the other aircraft that you see around you, are real aircraft in real life where they really are. And I guess they get that from FlightAware, I think. But yeah, all the planes that we see around us are actual planes with like actual flight numbers and airlines and everything else. I think that's amazing. And I guess that's the stuff that when they said you have to be online, that's sort of what they were talking about. I wouldn't say that you have to be online for that, but it definitely adds to the game. And I know, was it Flight Sim World or FSX Gold or one of them had a feature where you could play as an air traffic controller. So rather than this computer-generated voice and the ATC being kind of automatic, you had somebody who was actually playing the role of an air traffic controller and slotting flights in and putting them into patterns and doing all the things air traffic controllers do. So this does have multiplayer, and I'm curious if they will ever have a feature like that where you can play as an air traffic controller. It fascinates me that anybody would want to do that. I mean, good on them, right? You can play the game however you want, but the idea of being an air traffic controller, to me, that would drive me crazy. And I'm sure somebody feels the same way about driving a truck or a train or anything else, but I think it's cool. When I was watching the live streams yesterday, every time I went to Steam to see if the game was available, I saw the same live stream of somebody playing it. It looked like, how do I want to say this? It looked like a typical streamer, but I don't know that they were specifically a sim game or flight sim streamer. They were playing on a gamepad, and they were having a great time, but they were playing all third person with the HUD, the third person HUD up, and they were just kind of flying around, kind of sandboxing it. I prefer to do, as we did on this flight, cold dark start on the ramp, right? Taxi to the runway, ATC, IFR, the whole deal, all the way to the landing. That's my preferred way to play. But I know a lot of people just want to get in this game and fly around with a gamepad. And I think it's great that they set it up that way. It was a little off-putting the first few times that I saw it yesterday because I do try to play so realistically. But it's not just that it makes the game more accessible to people and they're going to sell more copies of it, but everybody games differently, you know, and I think game developers really do a disservice, not just to the specific game that they've made that they're selling, but to gaming in general. I think they really do a disservice to it when they build games in ways that make them come off as kind of elitist, right? Like, you can't play this racing sim, you can't play this driving sim unless you have a wheel. Well, a lot of people don't have a wheel. And it's not just that they lose the ability to sell someone that game, but they also, I think they come off kind of like a-holes, you know, that our game isn't for you, it's for serious players. So I've got a flight stick, but it's nice to know that you can play this game with a gamepad. You can play it with or without ATC. You can play it online or offline, right? It's a very accessible game, and good on the developer for setting it up that way, and Microsoft for requesting that it be set up that way, because I think it does keep the game accessible. And if you make it too demanding or too hard, now you got that Tarkov syndrome where you're driving people away because the game is just so not accessible. I've got maybe 3 or 4 hours into this sim so far, plus all the hours that I had into it years and years ago. But the learning curve is it's manageable. And I think about the way we game, like sim gamers. I think about us, all the different sims that we play, race sims, farm sims, truck sims, train sims. I don't necessarily want to devote my entire life to one sim or one game, getting good at it. And being able to just hop into a game and play it and have fun I think that's a really good thing to have. It's a good quality for a game to have, and to not be impossible to learn or difficult to learn. It drives people away, and it gives a game a bad reputation. And then you get into the feedback loop where, because you don't have any casual players, the hardcore players insist that you make the game even more demanding, right? Which drives more people away. And pretty soon you've got a target audience of like a few hundred people, and that's no good. All right, so we're about to start our turn here, and this is when things get very interesting. So this is Turndo that ATC was talking about. So we will turn over, this is Hawthorne right here. And yeah, I think that's Long Beach. Or that's Long Beach, and this is Hawthorne, I think. Anyway, so we'll make our turn between these two. We'll get to Turndo, and then we'll turn at Honda, and that'll put us on final, and we will hope that everything goes well. It may or may not. I'm 50-50 so far today. And I haven't even checked. We're good on fuel. Yep, we're good on fuel. Running a little bit hot. I don't know where the cowl is on this aircraft. That's our interior. I would like to see this come down just a little bit, but I'll have to track down where the cowl open and close is another time. All right, so we'll start making our turn. And we're passing over, so we're going to go to 9-8. Nope, not that one. This one. There we go. All right, so we'll start our turn. And I would actually prefer to fly this manually, but the problem is if I try to come off part of the autopilot, it's like everything just kind of goes to pieces. So when we turn the autopilot off completely, then we'll be controlling course and altitude and speed and everything else. But for now, I would like our altitude to be maintained all the way, at least to Turndo, maybe to Honda, so we can have more of a controlled descent and not be bouncing all over. All right. Oh, there we go. All right, and now we're continue our turn. I'd like to go third person right now, but at the moment we got too many things going on inside to do that. All right. They're about the same. Descend and maintain 3,600. All right, here we go. So we want, turn that off. We want vertical speed on, and we want, no, off, I said. We want, there we go. All right, so 3,600. All right. And we'll get this set. There we go. I think they feel about the same, and I need to do a little bit more research and figure out what they're talking about when they say 1,000. The aircraft has 1,000 points versus 1. I can't imagine that there was one anything in the old flight sim. It would seem like you would need at least 6 points for the 6 axis, right? 3 roll and 3 shove. So I don't know how you could have 1 point and then to go from 1 to 1,000, you know, I don't get it. But that's what they're saying. So I'll need to like research that and figure out what the hell they're talking about. So let's see if this levels us out at 3,600 feet. If it does, that would be fantastic. Because we've got one more turn to make and then we'll be on final. So, yep. So now if I say, is it going to level us out? It is. Okay, beautiful. This is, I feel like the autopilot it's half me and half the autopilot. Like half the autopilot is bugged out and half of it is me not knowing what I'm doing. All right. So there is turndo. And then from here, we've got one more turn and we'll be on final. Yeah, the physics feel really good. The only thing that I noticed is the last time I came into LAX, the frame rate dropped so dramatically that it was difficult to control the aircraft. And that was a little bit off-putting. But I think we might be able to get that sorted out with settings and various other things. So, yeah, now there is, I don't know that I want to mess with this right now. Maybe we'll do it next video. But there is a flight planner in here, in the avionics. And I believe within that flight planner, because everything is stored in a database, that if you select 25L as your runway, it will dial those ILS frequencies into your navigation radios. I just don't know how to do that yet, and I don't know that I necessarily want to do it like right now as we're flying. I'd rather fly the approach manually and have it be kind of sloppy than to be messing with the radios while we're on approach. All right, so these two aircraft that you can see here on the other MFD, these are actual aircraft in real life. In fact, I think if we go here, no. Oh, but there's somebody else on approach. Yep, so there's this. Now, we're a tiny little plane, and I'm guessing this is a great big plane. So they will probably get to Honda before us and fly over us. But if not, we're going to be theoretically on the same approach at the same time. Now, if we get there first, ATC should slot them in behind us, but we're going to be, I mean, we're at 120 knots right now, and they're probably going to be more like 150 or 180 knots. So this is going to be not super realistic as we get down here. All right. 13 miles east of LAX, we're going to contact LA Tower on 120.95. And we're going to make our turn. All right. Cleared ILS. 25 left. Reset our altimeter. All right, we're in the pattern. And that aircraft is, where is it? It looks like it's right next to us. Like right, oh no, it's right behind us. Yep. We'll need to, it still needs a little bit of work. All right, so we are about 3.5 miles out, so let's try to get the autopilot turned off. Like so. And let's land this thing, try to. All right, so we're going to turn those on. Concentrating. If I get quiet, I'm really concentrating right now. Frame rate is actually holding up. I'm hoping it holds up a little better than it did last time, but it really dropped off. As we got closer to LAX. All right. So we're 6 miles out. And I gotta move my cursor. It's gonna keep giving us that tooltip. All right. So we need to lose a little airspeed and get some approach flaps down, and that'll sort of put everything else in motion. All right, there's some flaps. There we go. And now I gotta do that. Yeah, frame rate's already starting to drop off. I don't know what can be done about that. I'll just have to keep looking in the settings and try to find a nice kind of middle setting for everything. All right, here goes gear. This is a pretty small plane in real life, and it's got a nice amount of sort of buffet and turbulence right now. It's not unmanageable, but it doesn't feel like it's on rails. It feels like I'm flying a plane. All right, there's landing flaps. And the other nice thing is this runway is like 2.5 miles long. So even if we're still 100 feet up when we come over the piano keys, we can just fly it the rest of the way down the runway. and it won't be a problem. It's not like we're landing a 747 or something. Yeah, anything below 30 FPS, I think from truck sim and race sim and everything that I'm sort of used to, anything below about 30 FPS, it gets kind of difficult to control. It doesn't have that fluid feeling. It's almost like keyboard steering. And we're really dropping off right now. In the notes, it said that LAX is one of the hand-built airports, which I think means like Santa Barbara that we took off from, I think it's a generated airport. So they just used generic assets and models and put them together in a way that sort of mimics the layout of Santa Barbara. So it's accurate, but it's not realistic, if that makes sense. Versus LAX, that is, they describe it as being hand built, which I think means everything that's modeled and all the buildings and textures are true to life. Fly it right down here. And there is supposed to be ground effect. Wow, we're at like 15 FPS. Yeah, that's so hard to control. We're in some ground effect right now, which is nice. It feels very realistic. I'm trying not to stall and slam it down carrier style. There we go. Ah, the stress. The stress is real. All right, so we will, once we roll out a little bit here, we'll get LA ground, we'll get off this runway, and then we'll hop back to the main menu. Oh, after all that, I was really concerned that at the very end I would stuff the thing. But it worked out. Fantastic. All right. Turn next taxiway. That's this one. Oh. He did say next. All right. Now, I do not know. I don't know the taxiways at LAX, so I think we're going to hop to the main menu from right here, because it's going to give me. So we'll tune to ground, and then request taxi to parking, and look at what it gives us for instructions. So we're going to go to the GA parking via taxiway A8 cross runway 25 left, H8J cross runway 25 right, JBSCT T2 SDD9. Did I copy? Yeah, sure I did. Now, there's supposed to be some type of taxi assistant where it would give us a dot in here, and I think we're on the ground now, so I think maybe we can even mess with that a little bit. But is it that one or that one? Yeah, there may be a way in a real aircraft, there may be a way to get through some of that taxiing stuff, because I know in real life it's a big deal. You get lost, right? Like when you look at how big and complex this airport is, it's easy to get lost, and it's very important that you not have any type of runway incursion, because then you get yourself killed, get a bunch of people killed. So it's something that they've been trying to sort out for a long time, is how to move planes around airports safely. And I don't know if that's a feature that we'll have in-game at any point. Let's go back to the main menu. Can you crash and explode? It just goes to a black screen. I think it's the same thing that the F1 franchise does, you know, to kind of keep it classy. Like instead of seeing a body flying out of the car, it's always the same sort of low-key, non-dramatic crash, no matter how hard you flip the car or anything else. They just try to keep it kind of, you know, not grim, not depressing. So you can crash, but nothing happens. It just cuts to a screen. All right. Let me show you some of this stuff, and then we'll call it. So the marketplace, like, you can buy Denver International for $15. You know, these are, right? This is not, I would not describe these as microtransactions. And when you go to, so bundle, yeah, I mean, I guess I got a deal on the base game because I pre-ordered, but that doesn't look like much of a bundle. I don't know. Like if I were to buy this, is it another 84 or is it 24? I don't know. So there's that, but yeah, there's airports you can buy, and I mean, yeah, some of these I think Innsbruck might be a good one to get, but again, for $20, you know, for the difference between the version that I got and the next one up is $30, and here's 20 for just one airport. Landmarks, London City, $8. That's not bad. That's not quite a microtransaction, but it's better than 20. And then aircraft down here, and then those. Let me see. We want to go back here. Those planes that I was talking about. Profile my hangar. That's the plane that we were just in. This this looks like Forza right now. This looks like the Forza garage with all the reflections jacked to maximum, right? Like somebody's been polishing this thing with a diaper for the past day and a half. It's all shiny. Beautiful. Let me see. Aircraft. What are we looking at? Change aircraft. So propellers. If we go over here, this is that, I don't know, I'd call it, select it. Yeah, it's got the big Tundra tires on it, but the plane was originally made in like the 30s or 40s, but this company that licensed it, this is like a fully modern version of it, aluminum frame, carbon fiber everywhere. No, you don't have to pay for the 3D. It comes with the game. You can opt out of it, but you don't have to buy it. It's included with the game. So there's this one, and there is another one somewhere, this one. And this is more like what the original J3 Cub looks like from way back in the day. So I think the fact that these two are included may have something I'm speculating. I have no idea if this is 100% accurate or not. I'm just guessing that these two aircraft being included may have been a deal breaker for the dead stick developers that, you know, why bother making a bush pilot sim when flight sim is going to have all that capability and more. Wow, these are some really good looking 3D models too. So there's that. There's the Cessna 172, the classic. That's a great plane. And then some of these other ones I'm not super familiar with. Flight design. These look like ultralights. And we were in the Diamond twin engine. There's a Diamond single engine as well. And then there are some turboprops that look very fast. And back to propellers, there are a couple, 2 or 3 aerobatic aircraft. So the Pit Special, of course. And there's also the extra. And then there's one more aerobatic. Is it this one? No, it is this one. Cap 10. And then for big jets, well, it's an executive jet, but there's the Citation, and then airliners with base game, you get the Airbus 320 and the 747. I don't know. This is a stretch, I think. It used to be the Plus 200. If it renders, there it is. This used to be the Plus 200 because initially it just had the one hump up front, but then they stretched it. It used to just hump up here, and then they added even more of it back here. No liveries yet. I don't know if those will be added later, but yeah, I have no complaints so far. There are some things that need polishing, but I have no complaints so far. And I think, I think that'll just about do it for today. It's, what, maybe an hour, hour and a half. But yeah, this is one that I want to spend some time in, and also the Pit Special. It's one of my favorite planes from when I was a kid. When I used to go to air shows with my dad. Skinny jeans, hey brother. Well, I assume brother. You could be not a brother, but I'll say brother. Yep. At the moment, no liveries, but that's not to say they won't add them later. And this one, let me go back here. Let's take a look on this one. Yeah, just a generic livery. Yep, nothing but impressed so far. So we will, let me go back here. Content, logbook. Yep, I think that's everything. Settings, we'll take a look at some settings before we dip. Welcome, no, options. All right. So for graphics, I just went with what they're calling high end. Ultra is above it, and then below it is medium, and then low end. And it's, TAA for anti-aliasing. Everything as far as scaling is at 100%. 8x for anisotropic filtering, and then all this stuff is, I don't know, lens correction. What is that? Camera lens distortion. Yeah. Generic plane models. We're not doing any multiplayer. Yep. And then the data settings. Is it? Yep. This is the rolling cache. So it is on right now. And I'm sorry, I thought it was set to 50 gig. I'm set to 25 gig. And what it will do is, as it fills up, it will just empty out the stuff that you use the least, or that you used the longest, like whatever has been the longest since you've used it. We were just flying in California. If we were to go to the East Coast, when we were loading scenery, the stuff from California would get deleted first, and it would cap it at 25 gig. And then up here is, I guess this is what we use today. And if you've got a metered connection, you can set it so that this turns off before you go over and get dinged. Flight model, miscellaneous, my pilot, camera, sound. I don't know if there's anything that we can do in here to sort out what's going on with ATC, but I'm sort of struggling with it at the moment. So we'll take a look and see if we can dial that. Music is turned off for copyright strike. So, yep, that's it. Call it. I'm going to go back to, where's my hangar? Profile hangar. Let's go back here and just look at a plane as we fade out. What did we fly? We flew this thing. So we'll do that and we'll call it. Thanks for stopping back to check out the Portable Gamer. See you next time. Take care, everybody.